Hey guys, it's Vicky, and today I'm here to share with you a book tag. And this one I was really excited to do because it's very timely, and it's not one that you can do all the time because it is the leap year book tag. For those of you that didn't realize it, 2020 is a leap year, so we get an extra day this month, which is awesome. So I wanted to do this book tag even though I wasn't tagged by anybody because it just seemed like a lot of fun. I saw Krista from Books and Jams do it, and so I wanted to do it. It was originally created by Melted Books and Amy Myers, and I will link those videos down below. And yeah, let's go ahead and just jump right into the questions. So question one is, an extra day. What is one book that brought a little something extra? And for that, I'm gonna go with The Marsh King's Daughter by Karen Dion. This is a kind of a thriller suspense sort of book. With an interesting story centered around a kidnapping, but what made this a little bit more special, I guess, to me was that it takes place in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, which is where I'm from, Michigan. My dad, though, grew up in the Upper Peninsula, and his little hometown of Grand Marais, Michigan is mentioned at great length in this book. And so it was really fun to read because some of the places that she describes, I knew what she was talking about because I've been there. And so it just made the story just a lot more fun. I think that's the case with any book that you read that takes place in a locale that you know very well. It just kind of makes it, I don't know, just more fun to read. Question two, taking a big leap. What is one book that you are or were afraid to read? This was pretty easy, and I think most people, when asked this question, are going to answer some sort of chunky book, right? So for me, it was definitely Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. The size alone intimidated me, but also I thought that because it's a Civil War era story that it wouldn't hold my attention, but luckily I was very wrong and I ended up loving this book so much. And it's one that I will probably reread someday. Question three, every 4 years, what is the fourth book you read this year? So I went back before turning on the camera and I looked on Goodreads, and the fourth book that I completed so far this year, well, the fourth book I completed this year in 2020 was The Great Pretender by Susanna Callan. This is a nonfiction book about a psychiatry experiment that went down in the early 1970s, and she's kind of trying to dive deeper into this experiment that happened and wanting to talk to the people that took part in the experiment because at the time they were never revealed. So she's kind of trying to dig deeper and find who these people were and talk to them, and the story sort of evolves and becomes this whole other story, which is very interesting. Anybody interested in like psychology and the sciences like that would really enjoy this. Question four, 366 days in the year. Looking at your third shelf, name the sixth book on that shelf and name the sixth book after that. So third shelf, sixth book in, and then sixth book in. Okay, let me go grab those. Okay, so my like third shelf on that, like on the far left side, are my like middle grade and YA books. So the first sixth book from that shelf is Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. This is one that I read in 6th grade. We read it as a class, and I remember really loving it, but I haven't read it since then. So I kind of want to reread this soon. It would be, I think, fun to revisit. It's about, from what I remember, it's about a little girl who befriends a family that live near this lake or pond or something that when you drink from it, it makes you immortal. And the family that she meets, they are all immortal, which is cool. So there's this one, and then the sixth one over from this one is another like classic, I think most people would say, Hatchet by Gary Paulson. This is another one that we read, I think my teacher read it to us in like 4th grade, and again, haven't revisited it since, but I really want to because this is like an adventure survival type of story about a boy who survives a plane crash and has to like survive. So yeah, this is another one I definitely would love to reread soon. Question five, leaping ahead, name 4 books that you want to read by the next leap year, or name something on your bookish bucket list that you want to complete by the next leap year. So I'm kind of combining those. I have 3 books and then a bookish bucket list. So the 3 books, first of all, the first one is, so far if I finish this book, I will be caught up with the series so far, and that is Lethal White by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling. This is the 4th book in the Cormoran Strike series, and I want to try to keep up with this series if it keeps on going. I don't know if there's going to be a 5th book, but this one came out well over a year ago. It might even be like 2 years ago now, so I feel like I need to read this one really soon so that I can keep up with her. This is a really fun sort of detective series. Cormoran Strike is a really great character. He is a huge reason why I love this series so much. Yeah, so there's this one, and then this next one is again a series that I sort of want to complete. I've had these books for a long time, and this is the most recent book in the series, and I don't know if this is going to be the last one or not, but the book is What the Hell Did I Just Read by David Wong. This is the 3rd book in the kind of John Dies at the End series, and this series is so much fun. It's like part horror, part comedy. It's just weird. And I really enjoyed the first 2, so I know I'm gonna love this one, and I want to read it so that if there is a 4th book, I'm ready for it. And then the 3rd one is a classic that I've never read, that I've had on my shelves for so long, and I'm a little intimidated about it, but I really want to read it. So I feel like if I haven't read this book by 2024, like, what is my problem? That book is East of Eden by John Steinbeck. Actually, the only John Steinbeck I've read is Of Mice and Men. Really loved it, but then again, Of Mice and Men is like this long, and this one's a little bit longer. But yeah, I don't really know much about this one, but I think it has like some sort of Cain and Abel vibe. Oh, my alarm's going on throughout, so we'll see how it goes. And then the last thing, 4th thing, isn't necessarily a book, but it's a bookish bucket list, and that is to finally get caught up with Stephen King. I want to read all of his books, and I have about probably a little more than half of them read now. So I feel like by 2024, I should be able to get caught up to him, possibly, hopefully. Yeah, I still have a lot to go, but that would be an amazing goal to reach by the next leap year, is to have all of Stephen King books read, and maybe even have reread some of them. Question 6 is Leapfrog. Name a book on your TBR that has green in it. And this is like the greenest cover that I have on my bookshelf, and that is How to Build a Girl by Caitlin Moran. Ooh, there's like fuzzies on it, sorry. But I mean, this is green as green can be. And this book, I initially picked it up because on the back, it basically says, imagine the bell jar, written by Rizzo from Greece. And I was like, sign me up. Because The Bell Jar is one of my favorite books, and I also love Grease. I mean, it's a great musical. So those 2 things combined, it just sounds like this is going to be a really great story. And then question 7 is bad luck. What bookish things do you steer clear from? The first thing that comes to mind right off the bat is anything where the predominant plot is a love story. I tend to not gravitate towards it, and you guys probably notice that from like the books I read. I don't mind if a book has a love story in it, but I don't want that to be the central focus. It's probably because for me, just like romantic love stories just aren't as interesting to me as like a friendship or a like familial relationship. I just tend to gravitate more towards those sorts of relationships and not from the romance stuff. Like I said, I don't mind if there's a romance story thrown into a book that I'm reading. It's just not something that I like seek out. And then another thing is anything that is like gratuitously violent or gruesome, because even though I'm a huge horror fan, I am very scared of blood. And like, so anything like that where there's a lot of blood and like torture and things like that, I just can't handle it. Like I get squeamish, I start to feel faint, and it's like not a good time. So though I like, you know, slasher movies and things like that, but there's like a fine line, and it's the same way when I'm reading. Like, I don't want to read about that sort of thing. So like books like, for example, I have been really on the fence about reading Brother. I'm supposed to read it this year, but I'm really nervous because I've heard that it has a lot of that like body horror in it, and so I'm a little scared. But we shall see. But yeah, I can't get down with that sort of like violence, I guess. Like, even to kind of give you an example, like, I love the movie Scream, but I usually have to fast forward through the first like 10 minutes, the part with Drew Barrymore, because I can't handle it. It like makes me want to pass out. It's just really weird. So yeah, anything where there's a lot of blood, or like people getting cut or stabbed where there's blood, I just can't do it. And then the last question is to tag 4 people. I can't think of 4 people right off the bat. So basically, if you're watching this and you want to do this tag, please feel free to do this tag. And you should do it if you want to, because you're not going to be able to do it again for like 4 years. So jump on it. I sure did. So, all right, guys, I hope that you're having a wonderful week, and I will talk with you very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.